So, good morning, students. Today, I have decided to discuss a very unique topic that from food science and nutrition, and which is very important that we'll discuss regarding the concept of food science. And first, we'll discuss regarding the concept of food science, and then we discuss regarding the nutrition, then importance of nutrient and nutrition, and then minerals and their role in nutrition. So these are the learning objective of this discussion, and we'll have a thorough discussion on the concept of food science and other aspects of the food science. So let us start with the food science. Consider chemical, considers chemical, biological, and uh, physical properties of food in relation to manufacturing, processing, and storage of food products. The Institute of Food Technology defines food science as the discipline in which the engineering, biological, and chemical physical science are used to study the nature of food. The causes of deterioration, the principles underlying the food processing and improving of food for the consuming public. So this is the concept of food science, and we'll have a thorough discussion on. It means the food science is nothing; it is just the combination of so many so many science together, and that's why the food science is very important. That's why the food science is very important. So the principle underlying the food science process, the improvement of foods for the consuming public. It means up to what extent we can keep the food and food ingredients in the position of consumption of human beings. That to be the part of the study of food science. It means combination of chemical, biological, physical property of food in relation to manufacturing, processing, and storage of food products. So this is the basic concept. Actually, it's a combination of so many science together, and the purpose is very clear that how we can manufacture, then process, then storage of food product to the consumption level, up to the consumption level. The textbook of food science defines food science in a simpler terms as the application of basic science and engineering to study the physical, chemical, and biological nature of food and the principle of food processing. It means it's the textbook, from textbook you will see that this food science is defined in simple terms as the application of basic science and engineering to study the physical, chemical, and biological nature of foods and the principle of food processing. Food science brings together multiple science disciplines, incorporate concepts from fields such as chemistry, physics, physiology, microbiology, biochemistry. So purpose is very clear that the food science it's a combination of so many concepts of science together, in which we have a very important concept of chemistry. We are using all the biochemical chemical changes that took place while we process the food for further forms. Then the physics, that what kind of the surface tension, what kind of the pressure, and then all kind of that things, they came under the physics. Then the physiology, that what kind of that the mode of actions of various that the microflora and microorganism. Then under the microbiology, we'll see that what kind of that the microorganism like yeast and the fungi, and the important that their uses in processing of food, and how the microbes, they spoil the food. That is also the part of the microbiology. Then biochemistry, that we'll see that what is actually the biochemical changes like the anabolism, metabolism, and all. That together we'll see under the concept of biochemistry. So it's application of chemistry, physics, physiology, microbiology, and biochemistry. Food technology incorporate concepts from chemical engineering, for example, food chemistry, food physical chemistry, food engineering, food microbiology, food packaging, food preservation, food substitution, food technology, molecular gastronomy, quality control, and these are few important that we have discussed over here. Now, before going to detailed discussion, we'll have a very we'll have to discuss about the concept of few terms and terminology. That first one is the nutrition. So let us have the discussion on that. What is the meaning of nutrition and how we nutrition and how we define it in food science. It is the study of dietary need of a living organism. It means under the nutrition we'll discuss and we will learn about the dietary need of a living organism, primarily those in agriculture and food production, because we are dealing with the agriculture and human science. So it means we are studying about the dietary need of the living organism under this under this concept to whom we are calling the nutrition. Now the nutrition studies the relationship between food and its effect on individual health. It means under this, the second definition is like that. Nutrition studies the relationship between foods and its effect on the individual's health. Nutrition considers topics such as obesity, malnutrition, food insecurity, and nutrition deficiency. So these are the few things those who are very much important from nutritional point of view, and they are there to be the integral part of the nutrition science. Then nutrient, let us have first understanding that what kind of that nutrient is there. So we will see that what kind of that nutrient is there, and then we discuss on that. So that is why we are discussing about the nutrient. So let us have a discussion on that what are the nutrients and how we can have the understanding of nutrient, and we'll discuss one by one. So let us have a first discussion on that what is the meaning of the nutrient. So nutrient, any chemical compound having a specific function in nutritive support of life. It means nutrient is nothing, it is just a simple chemical compound which having the specific function in the nutritional support of the life. It means we here we are discussing about in the nutrition, we are discussing about the study of dietary need of a living organism. And the nutrient is nothing, it is just the chemical compound which is having the specific function in the nutritive support of the life. So what are the nutrients? Nutrients, they are subdivided. Nutrients, they are subdivided into the number one, water, then carbohydrate, then fiber, fat, protein, vitamin, and the mineral. So nutrients are nothing. They are the combination of water, carbohydrate, fiber, fat, protein, and vitamin and minerals. So these are the important nutrients, and they have the important role, and they have the specific function in the nutritional support of any living organism. So to whom we are calling the nutrient, they are the chemical compound. Now, the first, we'll also discuss about the term metabolism. The sum of the chemical changes in the body. It means the metabolism is nothing. It is the sum of the chemical changes in the body, including the building up, anabolic and assimilation, and the breaking down, catabolic or dissemination process. The transformation by which the energy is available for the body uses, to whom we are calling the metabolism. So metabolism is of two types. Number one is the anabolism and then the catabolism. In anabolism, there is assimilation. It means there is something building up, and something for change. This is the biochemical change where the something is formed, and that is why we are calling it the anabolism or assimilation, and whereas the second one is the breaking down, or to whom we are calling the catabolism, because here the something which is formed, uh, which is formed, the energy is produced, and something different is produced, and the byproduct is also produced, and that is to be known as catabolism. That is to be known as catabolism. Now, it's a very important aspect of our discussion, that what kind of role of the minerals they are having. Because water, in the first that we have discussed, the water, carbohydrate, fiber, fat, protein, vitamin, they we will discuss them one by one. So we are discussing the first on we are focusing on the minerals, and water, carbohydrate, fat, fiber, protein, they these all we'll discuss separately in one by one in the next lecture. So let us have a first discussion on the minerals. On the minerals, minerals are what? What are the minerals? Let us have a first understanding on that. Minerals are naturally occurring elements and are therefore found on periodic table. The body uses minerals for some important functions. Some are necessary for healthy body and mind, because these minerals, they have a very much important role, because in the presence of these minerals, sometimes few biochemical changes, they are to be initiated, and they are to be regulated, and they their their intensity is sometimes defined and determined by the presence of the minerals, quantity of the minerals. So minerals, they are having very important role, and are naturally occurring elements, are therefore found in the periodic table. The body uses minerals for some important functions. Some are necessary for a healthy body and mind. Here are we provide brief description of most of important minerals, and that are uh, those who are required for our body. The page also indicates food are known to be high in certain minerals. This is, however, not always accurate. Plants and animals get their majority of minerals from the soil on which they are grown or raised. It means the plants and animals, they get their majority of minerals from the soils on which they are grown or raised. It means the animals, they, those who are grazing the grasses and the feed stuff which we are providing, whatever the feed stuffs in under what soil we have grown them, and what kind of that minerals those who are available in the soil, they are to be imparted into the animal, while we are providing them in the form of the feed stuff, or while they are grazing directly from the pasture. So that is why the plants and animals, they are majority of minerals from the soil on which they are grown for raised. If the soil in a particular region is rich in one type of mineral, then this is more likely to be found in the higher concentration in the plant and animals from that the regions. And because we are consuming both the plants in the form of the vegetables, and we are also consuming the milk and other animal product, meat and the chicken and all. So sometimes if if some if specific mineral is higher in a particular area, then their presence is much more higher in the plants and the animals. So ultimately, it was reaches to the human being in a huge amount. That's why sometimes we know that in Rajasthan we have an area like Jogner and this Sambar, and this area is very much having very much the availability of chlorine in the water, and because of that we know that the teeth of human beings are also disruptive, and the bone deformations is also the cases of the arthritis and bone deformation will find in a huge number. So that is why if the soil, particular soil, if the presence of a particular mineral is higher, then that mineral to be transmitted through plants and animals, and then thereby in the human beings also, and sometimes it is having the adverse effect, and they are to be found in the people of that area. So most minerals are required in tiny amount and quantities, but they can still have a significant effect on health and well-being. One more important that thing which I would like to discuss over here. For example, the selenium. Selenium is very important as far as the estrogenic activity of animal is concerned, or even the human beings is concerned. Because in the presence of selenium, if the deficiency of selenium is there, Then the vitamin E, which we know that to whom we are also calling the tocopherol, or sometimes that we are also calling it the responsible for the estrogenic activity. So that vitamin E is not that much of effective if the deficiency of selenium is there, because selenium is having the sparing effect of on vitamin E. So in such a way, similarly the boron and chromium, they are also affecting the rumination in the animals, ruminants. So the presence of these minerals in boron is also responsible for early embryonic motility if the presence of boron is deficit in the animals. So that is these are the effect of these minerals. If they are not available in the sufficient or in the desired amount, then there are several that the side effects of these minerals, they are observed in the living organism, either it's animals or in the human beings. Now the important minerals, those we are going to discuss one by one, and they are very much important. So first, the mineral which is very much important, because we are discussing here the minerals, those who are having the importance in the in the in the human life or in the animal's life. So let us have a boron. Boron can found in many fruits, vegetables, and nuts. So the presence of boron is natural. In naturally, we have fruits, we have the range of the vegetables, and also in the milk, and also in other products. Boron is needed by the body in tiny quantities. Yes, it's required in a very less amount. Boron helps the body to use both calcium and magnesium effectively. Boron is through found to be useful in bone development and maintenance, muscles development and strength, can help alleviate problems associated with vitamin D deficiency. Boron may also help in the prevent arthritis. Yes, so in a very little amount, in very traces actually. This boron came under the trace elements. It means they are required in a very little amount, but and generally they in our range of the food material which we have in the nature, generally this boron deficiency is not there. But if at all, if in a particular geographical area, if the deficiency in the soil of boron is there, then we'll find the side effect of boron in the population of that area. Either it's a livestock population or it's a human population. Then the calcium is found that it's a macro mineral. Calcium, we know that it's very much important for the important part of the muscles and the bone, and that's why the calcium is found in milk and other dairy products, including cheese, yogurt. Lower fat dairy products contain more calcium as less of their volume is taken up with fat. Nut, seed oil, fish, and the dark green vegetable can also be rich source of calcium. So that calcium is available in a bulk amount, and it's a macro mineral. The requirement of calcium is very high, either it's animals or in the human being. Calcium is required for the production and upkeep of bone and teeth. It means the strength of bone and teeth, and even the manufacturing and the maintenance of bone and teeth is very much maintained by the presence of the calcium in the body, regular intake, and the calcium. Calcium also plays key roles in nerve signaling. It means the transmission of signals, because the strength of muscles up to a certain extent, there is a presence of calcium in the body. Muscles construction as well as the controlling level of some hormone. That too much calcium is dangerous and can lead to serious problems like stroke and heart attack, whereas too little can cause muscle cramps and numbers of extremities and the abnormal heartbeat. So calcium is also very much, because the muscles, that the contraction of the heartbeat is nothing. It is just the combination of the contraction of and the blood pressure and the muscular dystrophy of the all the muscles, those who are surrounding the heart. So that's why if the toning of muscles is very important, and the deficiency of calcium is also very much dangerous, and the excessiveness of calcium is also adversely affecting the thing. So the requirement of calcium is to be supplemented very much because if at all little bit excess is there, then it to be excreted out by the body through the excretion that system we have in the body, either through urine or through the feces. Calcium is required for the production and upkeep of bones and teeth. Calcium also plays key role in nerve signaling, muscles contraction, as well as controlling level of some hormones. Too much calcium is dangerous and can lead to the serious like stroke and other. But the calcium is the part of the matrix of the bone. You know that with the calcium, phosphorus, and the magnesium, these are the key elements, and they all together in the presence of the vitamin D3. It means the active form of the vitamin is very much important, and also in the presence of the vitamin B12 or cyanocobalamin, they they are the integral part of the bone matrix. So that the bone, the entire structure of body, either it's of animal, plants, and human beings, that is a part of the calcium play a vital important role in structuring the entire skeleton of the body. Now the chromium. Chromium helps body break down fat, carbohydrate, and some hormones like insulin. And chromium is having very much important role in the ruminants, because chromium helps in maintaining the that ruminoreticular activity, that ruminal motility, because the we know in ruminants the the motility of rumen is very much important. The ruminoreticular activities depend upon the rumen motility, and that ruminoreticular motility is to be maintained. The chromium is helping them, and that is why the chromium deficiency sometimes the affect the digestive system of the ruminants, and may cause the disturbances in the normal ruminal function. So chromium is very much important. Chromium is also fundamental in the body's production of some fatty acids and cholesterol, because through the production of these fatty acids, because chromium initiated the production of few fatty acids, and we know that the essential that the short chain fatty acids, those who are produced in the rumen in a bulk form, and they are the food for the microorganism, the population which is there in the ruminant. And that is why we know that the microbial digestion that to be initiated by the presence of the chromium, because sometimes the amount of that the short chain fatty acid is reduced, that because of the presence of the because of the sense of the chromium in the body as per the need and the requirement of the animal. So that is why the chromium is having very much important role, and the cholesterol essential for brain and function and all, needed in small quantity and common in many foods. We get most of our chromium through meat, fish, whole grains, fruits, and vegetables. So it's generally available in ample amount in the nature. So if we if because of any deficiency in the soil, if chromium is not in a sufficient amount in the soil, then we will find the deficiency of chromium in a particular geographical area, and that to be found in the animals, human beings, and plants also. So the chromium is very important. That in nutrition is having the vital role in regulating and controlling so many functions, that biochemical activities and hormonal activities inside the body. Now cobalt. These are the cobalt is one of the element found in the vitamin B12, cyanocobalamin. That's why we are calling it vitamin B12, and helping with the production of the red blood RBC. Cobalt is needed in small quantity in our diet, because there are certain that because in the presence of the cobalt, sometimes the vitamin B12, the several that the biochemical activities, that sometimes the vitamin D2 is converted into the active form of vitamin D3 in the presence of the vitamin A and the B12. So that's why B12 means cobalt. Presence of the cyanocobalamin is very much important. So if the calcium phosphorus that the absorption and the fixation in the body is only possible if we have a sufficient amount of the cyanocobalamin or vitamin B12, and also that is why in the presence of these two vitamins, the natural process of that the calcium, that absorption and fixation and the storage in the body, and then it to be excreted if at all it is in the excessive amount. So that is why the important thing about the cobal is very much important, and that is why it is needed in small quantity in our diet. And if it is not there, then we face so many consequences of that, because the calcium phosphorus, the absorption and the fixation is very much um, depend if in the presence of the cobalt. That's cyanocobalamin, whom we are calling the vitamin B12, and that to be required in milk production also, because the calcium and phosphorus they are absorbed in the body in the presence of the particular ratio, and that to be maintained by the vitamin D3 and the presence of the vitamin B12 and vitamin A. So these things in a particular combination, if they are not available, then we will have consequences of the thing. Then copper. Copper is needed by the body to make healthy hemoglobin, blood, FBC, and bone. Copper is also necessary for effective healing of wounds, as it helps the blood to clot for coloring or pigmentation of hair and fertility. There is a correlation between copper and level of certain fat in the blood, especially cholesterol, and more copper, the less cholesterol, and vice versa. So the particular quantity is very important. If it is here and there, then it adversely affect the entire the things which is very much important. So if the higher amount, that adversely affect the activity, and if it is not in a sufficient, so balance of that copper is very much required, and it is integral part of the RBC also. And then the several that RBC and the other that hair and fertility and pigmentation, coloring, and all the copper is very much required. There is a correlation between copper and level of certain fat in the body. If especially cholesterol, the more copper, the less cholesterol, and the vice versa. With the more copper, then the copper is also reducing the presence of fat in the body. So if the more copper is there, sometimes it may cause the metabolic disorder. So that is very much important. And the fertility also, that the infertility, if the deficiency of copper sometimes may be responsible, because in the presence of the zinc and copper, zinc, copper, and iron, we'll know that the fertility of any animals and human beings is affected. However, we should only increase our copper intake if you are told by a health care professional that you have a deficiency. Copper is stored in a very little amount in body, and therefore does not need to be replenished every day, as well as natural source such as lamb, the liver, estrus, and nuts, cherries, whole grain seeds, and many other, that the natural way of the availability of copper may be found in the water supply using copper pipes, and transport into the body via copper coking implements. And then because sometimes the people, those who are keeping water whole night in a copper container, and that water they are consuming, they are drinking that water in early morning. So through this also we can have the supply of little bit copper into the body. Then the important chlorine, we know that it's good for teeth, helping to prevent and even reverse the tooth decay, and it's found in many toothpaste and mouthwash. So if you know that the chlorine is very much important, but if excessive chlorine is there, then it may create the decay in the teeth, and then also in the bone deformation. So we know that in our area, that the Jobner and allied, the Sambar, and this is the area where we have the Fulera also. These are the few important places in Jaipur district where they are having the higher amount of that chlorine into the soil and water. So because of the presence of this chlorine in a higher amount, you will find there are certain the deformation of bone in the population of that area, and then the decay of teeth generally is a true sign. They are generally found to people of those who are living, those who are having the residences, and those who are the habitat on that particular geography. Chlorine is also added sometimes because so if the area where the chlorine is high, please avoid taking any salt along with chlorine or any toothpaste along with chloride because that to be avoided. Chlorine is also added sometimes controversially to the water supply, mainly in USA, Canada, because if there is deficiency, then it's okay. But in the case of the area like Jobner and this is the area which I have mentioned, particularly in Rajasthan, if we are unnecessary will supply more chlorine, then we'll have more consequences because chlorine the deficiency is also having symptoms, but the excessiveness is also having several adverse effects in the human body. So, but in the area that Canada, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, Philippines, and part of European countries will have generally the Ireland, Spain. Fluorine can also be naturally present in water supply in various levels. Sometimes water is treated to remove the excessive chlorine. That people have speculation and adding chlorine to water would cause health problems. Cancer being a particular concern. However, apart from a discoloring of teeth or that high level, there is no evidence that the chlorine is toxic. As chlorine is found naturally or added to fresh water is also present in the many food. But if at all it is required, already we have an we have a fluorine in a huge amount. Then why we are unnecessary why we are so now we'll have the iodine. Iodine is very important. Iodine is so important if we have the we know that the iodine deficiency is causing the problem to whom we are calling the thyroid problems and the iodine help in production of thyroid hormone that these help the body keep metabolism, digestion, and food. And because the iodine is having the thyroid is having the thyroxine the hormone which controls the so many that the regulatory system in the body. So that is why the iodine helps in metabolism, digestion thoroughly, and the right speed. Iodine may also help prevent certain cancers that we know that the good source of iodine include sea fish, seafood, cereals, and beans, depending on the amount of naturally occurring iodine in the soil where they were grown. So this is also very important that the iodine is a very important that mineral which is very much important. Then the iron we know an important nutrient helping to make red blood RBC which carry oxygen. A lack of iron can lead to iron deficiency, anemia, potentiality that the serious conditions we know that which may include some of the following symptoms that tiredness, feeling, pain, and being easily made breathless, palpitations, fragile that knees, and hair loss, and extreme cases heart failure. Iron deficiency anemia occurs most commonly in women because they have the continuous that the blood losses through the period. So that is why the menstruation and in pregnancy and can usually be easily corrected with the iron supplement the tablets and sometimes the liquid supplement to be given to the woman for 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 supplementing and to remove the deficiency of the iron. Now the manganese. So manganese is also an essential element useful in formation of bone that is an integral part of the bone matrix and performing function in the pituitary gland also liver pancreas kidney and there are certain that the function that the metabolic actions those who are fulfilled in the presence of the manganese also. A breaking down of carbohydrate for creation of energy, the breaking down of carbohydrate is a normal process in the body. So the presence of manganese is also very much important. If the deficiency of manganese is there, then it may adversely affect the carbohydrate that the metabolism and the cholesterol and amino acid. The formation of cholesterol and amino acid deficiency sometimes is also because of the manganese deficiency. Magnesium also aids the breaking down of that magnesium is found in whole grain that we know that many fruits and vegetable and tea also is a very good source of the manganese that to be provided by the sea. So manganese is ample amount available naturally in the environment, and that can be available to the body and to the human being. Now the molybdenum, which is also very much important, pronounced molybdenum. Molybdenum is found in many food, including liver, eggs, green beans, sunflower seeds, lentils, cucumbers, and whole grains. The amount of molybdenum found in food is depend upon the area in which they were grown. So that it is also very much important. That molybdenum is very much important. That sometimes the MB that Molybdenum plays some key roles in the body, including enabling enzyme functions. That's enzymatic regulation and secretion and their control. They are there to be performed in the particular amount of molybdenum present in the body. So enzymes are large molecules and increase the speed of their chemical reactions and within the body without being changed themselves in the process. So molybdenum can protect against certain cancers, but in high loss doses can sometimes if actually excessiveness is there, then it may create the adverse effect also. Now that the nickel is needed in very small quantities in the body and its extract purpose is unclear. And however, the having too much or too little nickel can cause problems. A deficiency can lead to the depression, sometimes hypotension, liver diseases, and anemia. People also nickel deficiency can also have high blood sugar because we know that this is the deficiency. But when the vegetable oil, sometimes the vegetable ghee sometimes the people are using in diet, then because of the presence of the nickel that and hydrogenation process that the oil is converted into the saturated fat, and that to be more dangerous in the presence of the nickel. Nickel is found in the nuts, seeds, whole grain, so powder, etc. But the nickel is very important, and which is very much that we have discussed over here. Now the nickel is found in nuts, seeds, whole grain, cocoa powder, and dark chocolate, as well as any many other food ingredients. And we know that in the presence of that the hydrogenation and the presence of nickel, that the vegetable oil they are converted into the vegetable ghee, and that a huge amount of the nickel is there, and that affect the life of the people. Silicon is also very much important, although really rarely written about as essential minerals. But silicon plays some important role in the body. Silicon helps to make bone. That the bone will know that the cartilage, also then the tendons and the strong nails. Silicon also help the skin remain flexible and avoid premature that aging. That is the part, that is the role of the silicon aside. And the sodium also, it means that the older we look, the skin sometimes the fat, and then sometimes the cramps and the wrinkles, those we are observed in the body in the early ages. That is sign that the deficiency of silicon is there. Then the sodium, most in modern diet to provide sodium in level higher, far higher than needed by the body due to the amount of that sodium chloride salt that we are using contained process and manufacturing food. Salt is made up of approximately 40% of sodium and 60% of chloride. According to US Department of Health and Human Service, the average daily American diet contains around 3,400 milligram of sodium. The body needed only 1500 mg and then less than a teaspoon of salt a day. The sodium helps regulate the amount of water in cell, controls the overall fluid balance in the body, and helps in active nerves and muscles working correctly. Sodium chloride or salt intake has an effect on blood pressure. That is very important. That high salt diet increases blood pressure, whereas the reduces sodium intake help lower down the blood pressure. High blood pressure can result in the serious that health consequences. We know sometimes the including heart and kidney diseases. We know that sometimes the paralysis and sometimes the cerebral that the stroke we have because of the high blood pressure. Now the vanadium is needed in only in very little amount, any amount that in the body. Most people get enough vanadium from the body they eat, and vanadium deficiency is very rare. So vanadium supplements are usually not recommended as a high level, can be toxic. Vanadium is essential for proper growth and development of bone. With the help of the Popeye and the Taylor man, many people believe that the spinach is a good source of iron. It is, however, spinach also contains iron absorption inhibiting substances that render most of the iron in the spinach unusable by the human body. Tea and coffee also contain substances that can made it harder for the body to absorb iron. A good source of iron include that liver and the liver plate. And fortified that breakfast cereals, that the cake and nuts and sometimes the beans and all. So vanadium is very much important that to be looked after by the people. Now, zinc is an essential mineral and paramount of importance of health. Zinc deficiency is a huge problem in developing nations, and it's essential that we will see that generally the pregnant woman to whom the doctor they are prescribing either the liquid supplement or sometimes in the form of the capsules or sometimes the tablets. They are recommending the tablet of iron, zinc, and other supplements if at all is found to be necessary over there. So zinc is very much important, and natural growth and sexual maturity increases like hood or developing infections can cause diarrhea. In adults, zinc deficiency is usually due to the inadequate diet. If in our diet, if we add, if you are not consuming the reasonable diet, then generally we have this kind of the problem to whom we are calling the zinc deficiencies. Now there are certain many symptoms of zinc deficiency. These can include depressed growth, diarrhea, impotency that is also there, hair loss, eye and skin lesions, and reduced appetite and reduced concentration and other brain functions and a weaker immune system. So zinc is present in many food, including meat and especially red meat, seeds and nuts, seafoods, cocoa powder, and dark chocolate. Zinc supplements are widely available and are sometimes recommended for people on vegetarian and the vegan diet. So zinc and the iron and sometimes the molybdenum and sometimes the other that minerals those we have discussed, they are very much important, and because of them will we have a certain the problem of the deficiencies those they are there. So it's very important that sometimes we have to understood that the deficiency of minerals is very important, and it's an integral that part of the nutrition. Entire nutrition science will have to understand and discuss the things those who are those who are of importance. So these are a few things that we have to look after about the deficiency of the minerals and other that supplements those who are very much important. And I have completed today the concept of food science and nutrition and nutrient and the basic concept of nutrient nutrition which we have discussed and thoroughly will have tried to explain the all the macro and micro minerals those who are very much important and they have the importance in the life of the people. So looking to all these things and I have completed, and I hope that you have a better understanding regarding the concept of food science and nutrition and